The science of alpha waves. Have you ever noticed that your mind feels different when you are drifting off to sleep compared to when you are wide awake at your desk? That change is not only emotional, it is electrical. Your brain works with different rhythms, called brain waves, and each rhythm belongs to a different state of being. Before we focus on alpha waves, let us look at the three most important sleep related waves. Alpha waves sit between wakefulness and sleep. Delta waves are the slowest rhythms and they dominate deep sleep when our body repairs tissue, strengthens the immune system, and restores energy. Theta waves appear in lighter sleep and in dream rich phases where emotional processing, memory integration, and creative associations take place. They appear when you close your eyes, relax without fully drifting off, and when your system prepares to move towards sleep onset. Understanding brain waves. What are these waves and why do they matter for your nights? Brain waves are patterns of electrical activity created by millions of neurons firing together. You can imagine them as the background music of your mind. Fast rhythms support focus, decision making, and problem solving. Slower rhythms support rest, internal attention, and recovery. During the day, your brain uses more fast activity, often called beta, which helps you respond to the world. As evening approaches, the system is meant to slow down and hand over to alpha, then theta, and finally delta. If this change in rhythm happens smoothly, you can fall asleep without effort and move through the night in a stable sequence of sleep stages. If the switch between these states is disturbed, your brain can stay in an alert mode even when you are exhausted. That is when you lie in bed, tired but restless, watching the clock and wondering why your body will not do the one thing it clearly needs. The role of alpha waves. Why are alpha waves so important for the transition into sleep? Alpha waves appear when your eyes are closed, your muscles begin to soften, and your thoughts lose their sharp edges. They are strongest when you are awake but deeply relaxed, for example, after a warm shower, during gentle meditation, or when you are lying on the couch with your eyes closed and no urgent tasks left. In that state, the brain is not fully switched off, yet it is no longer in problem-solving mode. This makes alpha waves the bridge between your active day and your inner night. They allow your nervous system to step away from constant input and orient inward. They smooth the path towards the first stage of sleep, also called sleep onset. Without this bridge, the gap between daytime speed and nighttime stillness becomes too large and the mind struggles to cross it. Alpha waves and relaxation. Why does your mind feel calmer when alpha activity rises? When alpha rhythms grow stronger, the brain reduces the firing of networks that are involved in planning, worrying, and scanning for threats. Muscle tone decreases, and your breathing becomes deeper and slower. Heart rate variability improves, which means your nervous system can flexibly move between activation and rest instead of being stuck in high alert. This is one reason why practices like mindfulness, slow breathing, and quiet reflection are so powerful in the evening. Many studies show that these methods increase alpha activity, which in turn helps emotional regulation and reduces the intensity of stress responses. You may still have the same responsibilities and the same challenges, but in an alpha dominant state, they feel less overwhelming and more manageable. Alpha waves at sleep onset. What exactly happens in your brain when you are just about to fall asleep? Sleep onset is the short yet important phase where you are no longer fully awake but not truly asleep either. Your thoughts drift, images appear behind closed eyes, and your awareness of the environment fades. In this phase, alpha activity blends with slower theta waves. Together, they turn your attention away from the outside world and toward the inner landscape of sensations and impressions. If you frequently feel that you are hovering on the edge of sleep without crossing it, your alpha transition may be unstable. For example, you might close your eyes and feel calm for a moment. Then, a message on your phone, a thought about tomorrow, or a memory from the day pulls you back into beta like alertness. Each of these interruptions breaks the rhythm and forces your brain to climb back down toward alpha again. This stop and go pattern is exhausting and often shows up as difficulty falling asleep even when you feel very tired. How modern life disrupts alpha waves. Why does our current lifestyle make it so hard for alpha waves to do their job? The human brain evolved under conditions with clear light and dark cycles, physical movement during the day, and social calm in the evening. Today, many people spend their days indoors under artificial light, with long periods of sitting and constant digital stimulation. In the evening, they are still surrounded by bright screens, fast content, and unresolved work. Blue, rich light from phones, tablets, and laptops tells the brain that it is still daytime. This suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals biological night and keeps the internal clocks in daytime mode. At the same time, mental input keeps arriving. Messages, mails, news, and social media all demand attention. The brain stays in beta like alertness, so the natural rise of alpha waves is delayed or weakened. By the time you finally switch everything off, your system is still rotating far above sleep speed. Rebuilding your alpha transition. How can you help alpha waves return to their natural place in your evening? The key is to design a predictable wind down period before bed. This does not have to be long or complicated. Even 20 to 30 minutes of structured calm can make a measurable difference. You can start by reducing the brightness of lights in your home. Use warmer colors and avoid overhead lighting where possible. Set a personal rule that the last part of the evening belongs to analog activities such as reading a physical book, stretching, journaling, or simply sitting with a cup of non-stimulating tea. If you must use screens, Cinable night modes, and keep the content slow and non-demanding. The goal is to create a gentle slope from beta to alpha instead of a sudden drop. Alpha waves and emotional balance. Why are alpha rhythms linked to emotional stability and mental clarity? Research shows that people with healthier alpha patterns tend to cope better with stress and show more flexible attention. Their brains can engage with the outside world when needed and return to an inner resting state when the task is over. When alpha activity is chronically low, the nervous system often remains in a state of tension. Small events feel larger than they are, and the mind struggles to let go of unresolved conflicts or worries. By supporting your alpha waves, you are not only helping your sleep, you are also training your emotional regulation circuits. Each evening routine that guides you toward alpha is a small signal to your system that it can trust the transition into rest. Over time, this builds a new baseline where relaxation feels more natural and less like a battle you have to win every night. Alpha waves during the day. Can alpha waves also help you while you are awake? Yes, alpha activity is not limited to the evening. You can think of it as the rhythm of calm focus. Many creative professionals, athletes, and high-level decision makers benefit from brief alpha-rich breaks during the day. These pauses are not about scrolling through feeds or checking messages. They are about stepping away from input and allowing the mind to breathe. Closing your eyes for a few minutes, breathing slowly, and letting thoughts come and go can increase alpha activity and reduce mental fatigue. You may notice that after such a break, your thinking feels clearer and more ordered. This is the same mechanism that later helps you fall asleep. You are practicing the shift from doing to being, from outward focus to inward presence. Morning light and the next night. What does your morning have to do with your alpha waves at night? Your sleep system works as a full cycle. The way you start the day influences how you end it. When you expose your eyes to natural daylight within the first hour after waking, you send a strong signal to your internal clock. Melatonin drops, alertness rises, and your circadian rhythm anchors the timing for the next night. About 15 to 16 hours after that light signal, your body begins to prepare for sleep again. If your evening environment supports this process, alpha waves rise naturally and you experience a smoother transition. If your day is spent entirely indoors under dim light and your evening is flooded with bright screens, the rhythm drifts out of sync. In that case, even strong effort at night cannot fully compensate for the missing anchors earlier in the day. Practical ways to work with alpha. How can you bring all of this into a realistic daily routine? You do not need a perfect schedule. You need a few consistent anchors. In the morning, step outside or stand at a bright window and let daylight reach your eyes for several minutes. During the day, insert short breaks where you close your eyes, breathe, and let your attention rest. In the evening, choose a specific time after which your activities become slower, quieter, and more predictable. Soundscapes built around alpha-like characteristics can also support this process. They give your mind a stable auditory environment that invites calm rather than stimulation. Listen to them while dimming the lights, lowering your pace, and preparing for bed. You will gradually teach your system that these cues belong to the transition into sleep. A final thought. Why does understanding alpha waves change the way you see your own sleep? When you realize that your difficulty falling asleep is not a personal failure, but a rhythm problem, you gain a new sense of control. Alpha waves are non-abstract data from a laboratory. They are the felt experience of your mind letting go. By respecting this transition and designing your evenings around it, you are working with your brain instead of against it. You do not have to force sleep. You can invite it. Each calm breath, each softened light, and each moment away from constant input is a small step towards the alpha bridge. On the other side of that bridge lies the rest your system has been asking for all along. Community invitation. Sleep Science Space is not just a channel, it's an experiment in shared calm. Every comment, every story about how these sounds help you, that's data for peace. So if you feel comfortable, tell me where you listen from, which country, which time zone, which moment of your day. I read everything, and it's deeply humbling to know that while you rest, others across the world drift together with you. But knowledge is only half the journey. Sleep well, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next experiment right here on Sleep Science Space.